Hit the big record button then. Hang on, let me just do this. Before we get into it, I just want to do like a for the socials. There you go. Welcome back to Radio Juxtapose. My name's Doug Gillen, and today I'm in conversation with the German-born, Amsterdam-based multimedia artist Willehad Eilers, aka Wayne Horse. So, join me now as we duck and weave through his graffiti roots and get lost in the rambunctious chaos of his larger-than-life paintings. If this is your first time here, I promise you've picked a good one. If this isn't, then you already know the deal. Let's get into it right here, right now, on Radio Juxtapose. Willehad Eilers moved to Amsterdam from the northern German city of Bremen 20 years ago and has seemingly never looked back. Inspired by the works of R. Crumb, he took to comic books at a very early age, and just as it almost always seems to, the pens soon became cans and the illustrations made their way onto the streets.
I grew up around comic books and things like that. Then as a teenager I became a bit more interested in art, and we had an art museum in Bremen called the Weserburg, where I went and couldn't make sense of many of the things I saw.
Under his adopted moniker, Wayne Horse, he crafted a signature, bold and expressive approach to mark making, which soon translated into his studio works. Attending art school in Amsterdam, he was forced to break down his artistic identity and rebuild it from scratch through practices such as blind drawing and painting with the weaker hand, techniques he still applies to his work today. His sketchbooks offer insight into the lowbrow aesthetics of those graffiti roots, whilst his large-scale canvases feel closer to murals than studio paintings, each pulling the viewer into a world constructed from the many paradoxes of the human existence, in which war meets elation, moments of pure ecstasy sit on the precipice ready to tumble into the realms of demons and monsters. I promise you we read and love each of the messages that you're sending us on Instagram, and we definitely love to hear your suggestions for future guests. If you don't already, make sure you give us a follow. All the links will be in the show notes of this episode. Let's get into it right now with Wayne. Or is it Willehad? We'll figure that out. Enjoy the episode. Question number one. Am I calling you Wayne or Willehad?
It's really up to you. I go by both names. One is my birth name. The other is the name I gave myself.
What do casual acquaintances call you?
I don't really have casual acquaintances, but I think usually people go with English speakers tend to go for Wayne, and then some people make the extra mile and go for Willehad.
So you've been known as Wayne Horse for most of your artistic career. You're in a different place from where you were when you sort of chose this moniker. How's your relationship with this name? Because I know it's such a kind of like, it's such a thing for graffiti artists, particularly when they come from this, so many of them will just pick a name when they're 15 and they're like, hey, I'm this guy. And then they kind of like get to 25 and they're like, but you're still kind of sticking with it, and you kind of operate on this dual sense. So how is your relationship with this moniker?
I was lucky. Like, I kept changing the last name. It began as Wayne McSteel and went to Wayne Champagne, Wayne Lacrosse. At some point it was Wayne Horse, and I made a website at that point too. I guess that's part of the reason why it stuck. But actually, I do think a horse is quite a glorious animal, and like, I'm happy to carry that animal in my name. Plus, I love to paint horses. I have the feeling like whenever you put a horse anywhere, there's like this urgency that comes with it, because obviously you have the four riders, notice like a horse.
The apocalypse.
Yeah. Plus Wayne Horse, Willehad, it's really similar phonetics. So like, I made my peace with it. At some point I thought maybe choose one or the other, but then I think time is going to do that for me.
Is there a difference between the two? For your studio work, for example, what do you sign it? Do you sign it as Wayne Horse or Willehad?
I sign everything as Willehad. Mm-hmm. Think, maybe the difference is like Wayne Horse can also do like some kind of bogus jobs every once in a while. that I would never do myself, obviously.
What do you mean by bogus jobs?
I don't know. Like, I haven't done these kind of things in years, but like
Corporate jobs.
if you do, like you do like some collaboration with a brand or something like that, it's more of a Wayne Horse business than it's a Willehad thing.
I wonder if there's a sense of armor then that comes with this extra name. Do you feel like you get a layer of protective shielding?
By that for sure. It's like one more corner to turn.
Let's talk a little bit about that introduction then, because I'm in it for the long haul, so we might as well start at the beginning. Although I don't think actually graffiti was necessarily the very beginning for you, was it?
No, I was doing like I always drew. I was always the drawing kid, and like then I got to befriend the strong kid, and like everybody had their own thing and all this. Then there came another drawing kid, and that's why I started graffiti to have like my thing again.
You gotta be your own Power Ranger.
Was a little better in drawing than me, and like I didn't like that much, so I kind of changed up my game, became the graffiti kid instead.
What attracted you to graffiti in the early stages? Was it literally just because it was the other kid was better at drawing than you?
Of course, also it was like I was listening to hip hop and rap music, and it was just cool. Like gangs, hang out with other kids. We would go to all these abandoned factories and adventure. Like, I mean, it's the same thing that I still appreciate about graffiti is the whole adventure sense. Like you go and you sneak around, and there's something to it. Like there's some romantic stuff to it, I find.
Where was this originally then? Because you're based in Amsterdam now, but I know that you're German, but I can't quite remember exactly where in Germany this was.
I grew up in Bremen, which is in the north of Germany, kind of an hour from Hamburg.
What was that scene like? Was there a lot of other kids doing graffiti? I mean, Hamburg, I know, is absolutely filled, to the rafters with graffiti. So this town the same?
Yeah, I mean, it's quite a lot smaller than Hamburg, but still growing up, like there were enough kids to have trouble with or to look up to. Like it was kind of an alive scene for sure.
Still have very much a connection to that sort of graffiti culture, or have you sort of stepped away?
No, not much at all. I mean, I still have a lot of friends from graffiti, and I still do check it wherever I go. I do see what are the names that are up and all this. When drunk, I do occasional tags, but it's not enough to like rightfully say I'm still in it or something. It's just like it's my hobby now, and I'm like a lover of graffiti.
But you still do murals and things like this, public stuff.
Yeah, but that to me doesn't have much to do with work.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. What for you is the difference then, actually? Because this is something that I think it's for a lot of people will be an obvious answer, but for some people it might not be that obvious. So what for you is the difference then between doing like a public mural or doing graffiti?
It's my friend Shu, a graffiti writer here from Amsterdam. He defined it pretty good. He said, graffiti makes the market value go down. Street art makes the market value go up of the neighborhood. So that pretty much sums it up, I guess.
So what took you to Amsterdam then? Because you've been there for quite a while, haven't you?
Yeah, I've been here now 20 years. I came back in 2001. I came here to study. And after study, I just stayed because it's pretty close to my hometown. Like around 3.5 hours to go. And there was more stuff happening here. Like more people move through while the city is still small enough that you don't have to call anyone when you go out, but you can be kind of sure where to go to meet people, anyone, which is a comfort I really like. And also why I don't move to a bigger city. And it made no sense to move back to Bremen for me. So then I'm here still. I thought I was going to move on, but turns out I'm still here.
And you'll be there for the...
Must mean I like it as well.
Of course. Is it home?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, by now I guess it's home. Like, even though it can't really compete with like all the experiences you make. Like when you're a teenager and all this, you grow up. So like, I don't think anything can ever replace Bremen in that sense to me. But still, I'm very much at home here in Amsterdam. Like when I arrive back here after a travel or something, I really feel like I'm coming home. Yes.
Yeah, that's nice. And for a lot of people, 20 years seems like a long time, but actually for a lot of people, 20 years isn't enough for it to be considered what they would call home, So it's obviously made an impact.
Yeah, it did. And like, I I made many decisions in this city so to become who I am now. So of course, yeah, it's left its mark on me, this Amsterdam.
How do you think it's left a mark then on your work? What's the biggest mark that Amsterdam has made on either your work or your practice?
Well, I mean, it was here that for the first time, as also because, of course, I went to art school and all these things. So I was forced to look at what I do differently. Like in the beginning, I wasn't allowed to do what I like to do. You know, I came here wanting to be a cameraman, I think. I was pretty sick of art school and I thought I want to do a job as a cameraman instead. But then somehow I tagged along and then came this breaking point at which I realized actually it makes sense to push me out of my routine, to open up for like other possibilities, and like it produced a certain sense of it doesn't matter how well you know how to do something. The thing that actually really matters is with which attitude you approach it. And then it's great to see an idea that's realized with like the worst craft. If the idea is great, like then you see somebody had this urgency to realize this idea. So just kind of made do with whatever there was at hand. I find those things can be like the most beautiful projects. Whereas when you are in love with your craft and like so much that you don't really think about the ideas too much anymore, it just turns out pretty embarrassing in many cases. So like that was like one big lesson I got here for sure. Like right at the beginning, the first 2-3 years, like it really hit me in the head.
Where
From
did
that
that
moment
come?
on, I started. That was, I think, I have to really grant it to the school as well, like because they kept me pretty aggressively from
What were
I
you
want.
doing then that was so different?
It's just like the places where I would go to find comfort, which is obviously what I would do anyway still, like which used to be back then also a lot of like clean line drawing and things like that. And I just wasn't allowed to do that for around a year or something, which means like I did that after hours all the time anyway. But like in all my presentable experiences of what I had at this school, I had to do other stuff. So I started building things and making things in clay, started doing animation, and just it really broke me open a bit. And I think I took that until now. Like, I mean, I'm again pretty much working in one medium, but the attitude
As
is
a
different.
painter?
The attitude's different than right now as a painter. But then again, that's only 3 years old. You know, I didn't paint my whole life. Like it's a new project, new-ish project.
It's funny because if I looked at your work, or when I look at your work, particularly through the sketches, I can see this really obvious connection between the street graffiti history and your practice. You know, it just feels that there's such a harmony between them. But are you telling me that actually it was more the school that brought out this kind of looseness in your style?
No, not like that. Like the hand and all that, I don't think it had
The
an
hand is the
influence on
same.
that at all. The hand, I had my own struggles with that. Like I had my own fights with that. It was more like just to open towards, you can do what you want and the actual artist within the idea or something. Like that's the school they have, which is also something I don't agree on fully, but I think it was healthy to get confronted with it early. And then the other, like, drawing for me now is, I really fought with it for a while when I had a very clean style, and I realized that it doesn't at all align with what I want to say in my overall attitude. And then I thought, like, where's the point in drawing it if the drawing doesn't add to it? So I had to kind of destroy the way I drew, which was I call it the breaking the hand, which was I started doing all these exercises like blind drawing, drawing left-handedly and all in a way to I didn't like when I looked at my drawing, it looked like I was trying to do something. And I found that felt really weak. And then I thought, what's the most positive this drawing could communicate to the viewer? And that also then turned out to be just like, look at me, I got skills. And I found a pretty boring message. And so I knew I had to change something. And that's when I started. When I started, I felt like I'm a revolutionary or something. Everybody was like, geez, man, like, why won't you open your eyes for a change? Like, no wonder nobody likes the new stuff. But like, I was crazy excited about it. And like with time, then like now that I have this loose kind of drawing, which is like a handwriting to me. So like in that, I really love it. But at the same time, it's also safe because I can't really for my own judgment, I can't fail in that right now. Like it's doing exactly what I want. So that's also why it was time to start like a new enterprise on it, not to keep repeating something and like then maybe write it till it's lame, you know?
Is that how you feel as an artist? You just want to get to a point, and then as soon as it becomes almost mechanical or almost like a machine kind of churning something out, it's time to break that habit and then find a new, whether it's either a new technique, a new approach, or maybe a new medium.
I think in best case, it's going to be the work that tells you it's time for that, and it's going to do it by itself, I think. Like the only thing to expect from a work that I make is that it will demand the next work and that I will have something that I have to do within this next piece. And up to now that happens, but I also worked on it long because I worked long, harsh years of like a very unsuccessful, nobody cared about nothing I did. So I had to build myself a kind of a safety net and like make sure that I like what I do. And in that, I kind of found like this, there's never an aim, you know, like I don't make the art that I want to make. I make the art that I do make, and I have an aim which I'm walking towards, but it's all about the path, of course. It's not about like once I'm there, it would end the whole story. It has to keep going.
Do you have that final destination in your head, or is this something that just kind of continues to evolve? Does your painting, more importantly, does the finished canvas, the finished painting look like how you imagined it to look when you started?
No, it doesn't. But that's exactly the game. Like I need to, there are several parts within creating a painting in which I also purposefully just put like sticks in my way, because I need to overcome some sort of a challenge. I cannot know what I do and then execute it. It's very, very tiring and boring. So I need to have a certain sense of danger while I work, that it could fail. I need to be frustrated at points, and then I come back and I find at some point what happens is like I start the blind, like under every canvas there's a blind drawing basically.
Okay, let's start this right at the beginning, right, because we're jumping into a new point here, and I think this is a really interesting insight into this process. So like walk me through this then, because this sounds like it's almost like a kind of like a mental fucking gymnastics that you're going through in order to try and create these canvases. So walk me through the process for this.
So I start with the blind drawing underneath, like as the very first thing on a prepared canvas. Either I go through like sketches I made in my sketchbook or something, like some thoughts I wrote down. Sometimes I just also mix like either nighttime photography or hooligan fight photography with classical painting, replace a few characters, but I don't formulate that out on a computer or anything like that. I will take pages from a book and my sketchbook, walk to the canvas and kind of collage them together in a blind drawing manner.
So you'll have the image, you'll take in the image, and then you'll just blindfold yourself.
No, the image is not really there. Like I kind of, I have the topic, I have like a vague idea where I want to go, and then basically what I have to do the whole time is mess it up and save it. And the earlier I mess up a painting, the better, because I got to take the holiness out of it. You know, you have the white canvas, it's pretty holy, so you're careful. What's the first line gonna be? So the quicker you fuck up, the quicker you really destroy it and there's no way back anymore, the more like I put myself in a corner and I go like, then out come the fists, right? So like you act quick and you do stuff you don't think about too much. Like, so you can't be careful. And that's the kind of stage I try to provoke numerous times within creating and finishing a painting. So begins with that part, the blind drawing. And I don't even judge it anymore. Like back in the day, I would step back and say, do I like it? Don't I like it? I do it. I leave the studio immediately. The next day I come back and I check if I like it or I don't like it, which honestly also doesn't matter at all at this point because it still changes so much. I just need something to start from. And it's easier to start also. And this might sound weird, but like to have a great idea often is really a problem. It's nicer to create the idea together with your work because then you get an honest testimony of what you're building, while otherwise you're trying to live up to this idea, which also kind of can be stifling. You're going to be a bit more careful to kind of keep this holiness there. And I got to destroy all holiness. Like I have to just save. I run around like hectically trying to kind of keep it together. And then comes a moment at a certain point at which I see, okay, this is the story that's in this painting. And from that moment on, all decisions are being dictated by the work, and I just serve. And then I eagerly I finish it off, and that's very relaxing fast. I can listen to
I was going to say, when does the relaxing part come in?
I got to do this to get to talk to the, like, sounds so corny, but like to get to talk to the painting, like at some point it starts talking back, and that's what I need, because then I get something that excites me as well, and then like there come the ideas for new things, and this is I'm kind of I suppose also a bit addicted to that feeling, because that's it's a lot of long, laborsome effort until the moment where it starts to happen by itself. It's a lot of times of timing, saying, okay, now you're going to do another 45 minutes of this, until at some point I look at the clock and it's 3 hours have passed. But like those moments have to be prepared, like through this laborsome routine in a way. Yeah.
It's funny you just said addicted to this feeling, and I was thinking earlier when I was looking at your works, especially in these party scenes, it's like there is, when you go out, and particularly if you're engaged in a place like that where you're drinking, you're intoxicated, you're chasing that sense of a feeling, and that's what I kind of I see from the imagery that's coming through. But you as the artist are still trying to chase maybe a similar feeling than what we're looking at in the paintings.
It's also funny as right now we're not even touching upon what the paintings are about. Like, we're just talking how they are made. But like as I find it so important that what I do and the technique make sense together, actually it's almost the same. So it's kind of nice to see now that talking about the technique is almost as if you were talking about the topic.
It's the same energy that's kind of, it's like a frenetic energy that's kind of, and a duality in there between like a fight and ecstasy. There's the joy, there's the fear, there's like a permanent kind of like battle between multiple different senses. Is that kind of how you feel then when you're creating this?
Yes, that is how I feel. And it's also the feeling I try to transport is like, I'm very interested in this balancing on the knife's tip or dancing on the volcano's edge. Mm-hmm. The point where it turns, and you have that in a party often, this the thing you desired the most a second ago is the last thing you want to see, like once you return from the toilet or something. You're having the best time, you go take a leak, you come back and you enter a room of monsters, and you just kind of Houdini out of there, I like this. It's too much of the goods. You stuff yourself so much with like the best the world has to offer, and it just makes you sick. Like there's something to that which really intrigues me.
In a lot of these scenes, it's quite upper class as well. These aren't seedy dive bars. In a lot of them, they are, they're high class venues.
These are people who have reason to blind themselves. These are people who have a reason to get their nerves numbed down. At the same time, though, they are people, which is also important. Like I'm not pointing my own stinky finger at anyone here. I have actually sympathy for each individual, and like that's something I hope comes across. Like for a long time, I was concerned that it might come across like I'm loathing people or something, but it's not at all the case. I think there's too much on our head to be able to deal with it. Also, people make wrong decisions, but I don't believe in a single actually bad person I don't think it exists. I think it's just like we get caught up in constructs, and it's just a lot of bad decisions happen, and like there's regret and too much to take for a person, and like all this results in ecstasy and like just these overboarding behaviors, and like excessive luxury and I don't know, you're eating like the nervous system of a rare monkey or some bullshit like that. Like there's it goes to extreme lengths, and I find that very fascinating to see. While I have a lot of sympathy for each and every one looking out of their own skull from deep within, like some scared animal, looking through the bars, you see that, you look in the eyes and you see like a shaking soul in there. It's is like I want to transport that warmth somehow. Like I have the feeling like we're all so lost, and it's obvious, and we need comfort. Like all we really want is to hold each other when we don't know how, and like that's another thing. Like stop me when I'm babbling, yeah.
No, it's a podcast. You're meant to. It doesn't work if you don't.
So my therapist told me the other day.
Hey, I got one of them.
Check my stuff then. Exactly. Who doesn't, man? And she told me like those paintings look like you put like some aliens in like a little two baggy human suits, and they're trying to figure out how to touch each other. And that really speaks to me. I love that one. Like, because it's like they're kind of trying to get close, but then like you actually end up strangling someone or something. Like it's just like, you know, joy and pain is really close together.
Yeah, I picture the guy from Men in Black. Do you ever watch that film?
No.
Oh, come on.
Sorry, man.
Like,
sorry.
A bunch of the listeners are definitely going to get this reference. There's, you know, the Will Smith film, Men in Black. An alien comes down and puts on a man suit. And it's just that idea of like assuming the form of a human, but not knowing how a human moves. And it's just really jarring.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you sit down then, do you finish a painting, take it in and show your therapist and go, all right, let's unpack this week. We need to get what's going on in my head.
It was kind of like it came as a bonus or something. Like at some point I sat there and like she looked at me all weird. And I was thinking like, so what's happening? She said like, yeah, I had a look at your paintings. Like, oh man.
I've made some notes.
So actually I found it really interesting. It was very nice to hear. There was one time
go on.
And that one is like from a fairy tale, you know. I was my studio is in a restaurant, like it's above a restaurant, but it's open, like you can walk up into the studio. And sometimes when I have a show coming up, I will work late. So like when the restaurant is open, I'm still here till the end of the day. So this old man walks up and asks, "Do you mind if I have a look around?" And I say, "No, go ahead, knock yourself out." He stays for a long time. I had a lot of paintings up. And then he comes to me and says, "So young man, you would like to embrace the world." And I was like, "Excuse me, what are you on about?" He says, like, "It's very obvious, like the one reoccurring theme of your work is the hug." And I thought like, never seen it like that. But then when I looked at all my work, I saw like, it's a lot about this touching. And like, I'm so concerned about it because I all the time thought I come across as this like loathing hater. And then to hear this, and it's so simple, and actually like the embrace could easily fill years of work. Like it's a lot to put in there, you know, like it's a fantastic theme, but it's so simple. I would have never dared to formulate it for myself like that. So like, I was grateful to this guy. And then like, I wanted his details because I thought he was some kind of a muse or something. And he said, "I'm not going to give you that, but I come eat here all the time." And then he disappeared, and like, it smelled of like a lemon melisse or something for an hour afterwards. Like, I wasn't sure it even happened, you know? It's a beautiful moment.
That's the most fucked up kind of like, was he real? Like, was that guy real, or was there something else? That's fucking crazy. I like that though. And has that sort of changed then how you feel? Because like, you can keep doing this thing, and then suddenly when you're aware of it, if someone tells you, by the way, you're really focusing here on the need for embrace and the need for connection, has that sort of changed how you approach that? Have you gone, okay, I need to stay away from this, or is it?
I do like it because it's so simple. Like I was really impressed with the simplicity of the idea, because before I would always kind of formulate my stuff and like all these words, and then this guy just saying, no, stop it. It's the embrace. That's that. And it's all in there in a way. I really liked it. It doesn't mean that I do that now, but I'm like the knowledge of that this would potentially be enough, or like can encompass everything I want to say. I harbor that as it's a gift. Like I'm happy to have heard that. Doesn't mean that this is my new show, The Hug. That's not going to happen. But still, like to know is amazing. Like that's it helps me to have this knowledge for sure.
As an artist, then, do you see yourself in these paintings, or are you a spectator looking at it?
The other day, I looked at my paintings, and I realized that they very often look back, and I never planned that. But like, there's a lot of movement. but it's usually as if you would have made like a loud noise or you just opened a door or something. A lot of people look back and face you. So in that, my work is more facing me than I'm facing my work, even though I can't help but like I'm gonna be part of whatever is in there. Like there's not a character in these paintings that has nothing to do with me, of course. Like that's because I'm a megalomaniac and I got to manifest my
create your own world like The Sims.
At least I'm showing also parts I'm not too happy about, but yeah, man, it's a lot about me, of course.
Is this a sort of intended to be like a reflection of how you see society?
No, it's not intended to be, but I am the only filter I have. You know, like I get what I see and then it comes through me. And I thought, okay, it's legit. I'm somebody living in these times. So like, okay, we got to take that burden. Like I can't do it without this filter. So in that, I'm always in there, of course. But I'm trying not to give too much my judgment on a situation, because frankly, I have judgment on very few situations. Like I just see stuff happen, and unless it's exactly, I don't know, somebody puts a knife in my belly, I will be pissed off and angry and hurt. But anything else, I don't know how much I know. I never know the context of anything, so I'm really slow on jumping on anyone's side on anything. So it's like I just paint things that I came across, and I try to also make sense of it through the process. Like when I later look at those things again, I will be able to read like what are my feelings, but I don't often formulate that for myself beforehand. Like what is like who's the bad guy or something. That I don't think about that.
It's funny you talk about this idea being, or the work being, a sense of like now, these times and this current age, because actually if I look at some of, particularly in your bigger canvases, that time period for me doesn't necessarily scream 2023.
No, but it does scream 20s, right?
Yeah, it screams more 20s for me, but I was like, maybe just because I'm not involved in any of these upper class parties and I'm not part of the, the sort of the bourgeoisie, maybe that is what they look like just now, but it definitely feels more sort of roaring 20s.
I began those in 2016 because I knew the 20s were coming again. Like we're nearing the 20s again. And I had the feeling there were like similarities in like back then in 2016, way less dramatic than now, of course. But there are like some scary parallels in between the 20s and the 20s. And so in that, like in the beginning, I began doing 1920s to kind of point towards our 20s as well. So, I mean, the way that humans behave is not that different. I do prefer the clothing. And I think it's easier to think freely for people if they don't get held up by like modern day reference, like if like everybody's wearing what do people like to wear, like all the Balenciaga or something like that. So all these brand names and all that, I think it would dilute the point a bit, like starting to think about other stuff. Like while when you put it to the 20s, you might make the jump to, oh, hold on, we're in the 20s now or something. But like the thing in itself is it's just well-dressed people. So like then fill the rest yourself, you know?
Though we've been primarily focusing on Willehad as a painter, it's worth reiterating that this is just one of the many strings he has fixed to his artistic bow. His website catalogues 20 years of photography, video work and paintings, and is well worth browsing over a coffee. Digging through the archives, it becomes quickly apparent that Willehad has a strong relationship with music, having directed several videos for friends' bands. This relationship was cemented in 2022 when Scottish music producer Hudson Mohawk used Willehad's artwork for the front cover of his album Cry Sugar. I've actually been using Hudson Mohawk's music through quite a lot of this podcast. If anyone from Warp Records is listening, please just send us a quiet email before you send us the lawyers. Coming up in the second half, we delve further into this partnership and how music has impacted the artwork. We talk plans for the future and a whole lot more. So stick with us right now as we jump back into it with Wayne Horse on Radio Juxtapose. What is the function for you then of these battles and the sense of war that exists within there. And I'm very conscious that I'm asking a German this question.
I made a bunch of party drawings. I left the room. I came back the next day. I saw them from far and I thought I made war paintings because they looked almost the same. Then I started to study photographs of battles and parties. Then also at some point, somebody pointed me towards it. There's some kind of Instagram channel, I think, where they think it's called like Accidental Rembrandt or something. You often get like these hooligan scenes that look like these monumental battle paintings or something. But the point being was that I saw like a similarity in between like grand battle scenes and basically party photography from Magaluf or Mallorca and Ibiza. Mm-hmm. And I liked that back then, especially because I had the feeling that like while right now everybody's so over aware of everything, back then we seemed to be like a generation that has no war, no nothing. There's like just like the careless youth or something. So like our big battle was like being drunk on the metro or some shit like that, you know? So that gave me the first ideas to replace the battle characters with like this, the war of fun or something, you know, like this, binge drinking, tourist groups, stag party, whatever, one against the other. Like the way it looks from afar is similar. I mean, I've never been to a war, so like it's very respectless of me to say, but like from what I see from pictures, I saw a lot of similarities in there, and I thought it did something with me when I moved around with the characters in these settings. So like in the beginning, I would adapt battle painting scenes and fill them with the people that I took from nightlife photography from all these party locations and all that. So it was a game, you know.
Is that how you see it as a game?
The things it says is not a game, but it's like me in there. I'm playing this, yeah. Like I'm playing a game of associations, and like each of these paintings gives me a certain insight or idea or like viewpoint that makes me want to try something else. I'm following this drive, you know, and like by working kind of almost mindlessly, I have the feeling like through that I'm giving a kind of a commentary on what is happening, which only works though if you bring your own associations, because like I'm not telling you the story, I'm not judging for you. Like it's something you have to understand. If you think, oh, this is not right or something, you know, I give you like a battlefield for yourself to struggle on with your morals, you know.
By looking at a lot of these nightlife scenes in Magaluf, you owe quite a lot to British drinking culture.
Yeah, I mean the Germans also know how to drink. Like it's
no, but in Magaluf, I think it's all.
Oh, Magaluf is more. No, of course, yeah, not
it's
like
all
that's,
British. Lads.
But also, I have to admit, like I didn't myself go to Magaluf or Mallorca or Ibiza. I suppose I will never set foot on any of these places, even though by now I get more and more curious, and like now I have like a fascination with it. And I start to know street corners by just seeing a lot of photographs of places and all that. So like that gives me like, but for me, it's also one place. For me, it's like one mad island. Like, and that is also, I don't like it when people say like, I'm going to Mallorca, but you know, like the sophisticated park and all this, like for me, it only exists like this hellhole, like this dark, drunk battle, like, and that's how I want to harbor Mallorca in my heart.
Yeah, you're never gonna go there and destroy that image. I'd just like to point out, I've been to Ibiza and it's absolutely glorious. It's not quite that. It's not quite. My experience wasn't quite that bad, but I don't want to take that away from you. I don't want to remove this sense.
Thank you.
I did wonder, what's your? I didn't even ask. Like, what was the initial fascination with the party scenes, and what is your relationship Because like as just when I was doing my initial research, it almost could feel like this was you battling with your sense of this lifestyle and knowing that you were living in Amsterdam, which has a pretty big, it's quite known for its party, its liberal, open-minded, debauched nights out. What's your relationship with this culture? Are you really just looking at it from this voyeur and using it as this battlefield, or is there something more to it than that?
It's difficult to say because I can only see through my eyes, of course. And in my opinion, I've always been a pretty reasonable guy. But then I sometimes do things people would deem like unreasonable the next day. Or like also like then I will have to call and apologize or like not show up in the place. And it doesn't matter. Like but I've not been like in this proper scene. I think actually I've been like a pretty okay behaved guy my whole life. Like now I'm a bit more calm. Like, but of course I've been a young man. But no, like I would also, for example, not do stuff like disappear for days or something like this. Like that's never been my thing. Like I get tired at some point and then I go home.
It's really easy to not get tired.
Yeah, I know. I know about that too.
Aside from graffiti, the other tie-in that you have is through music. And I know that this seems to play like you can almost hear the music in your work. There's whether it's either through the visual of the piano or even just the association with, Hudson Mohawk or whatever, but you can get the sense that there is music there.
I really like music a lot. Like, and it's regularly I listen to something and I think, damn, you should listen to music more. Like and I'm not even, I don't even have like an in-depth knowledge of it or something, but sometimes people point me at something and I get obsessed with it and like listen to the same album again and again and again. And it doesn't even matter which kind of genre it is or something. It's just, if something in there really gets me, I get very obsessed with it. And, just until it's then dead again, like that's how it goes. I guess that. Just you keep on pushing the same thing over and over, and then I wish that it would happen that like in a painting that it would say by itself, now it's time for that or that. But I don't have it in music. It's just I get obsessed with something, and then it just spits me right out. It's not like, and here comes the next thing that kind of springs from that. Very rarely do I manage to jump from one album even to another album of the same band or group or whatever. It's difficult for me. Like it's so specific, and then it's like a short, intense relationships with that, and then back to talk radio.
Do you have an addictive personality?
No, I have a very I fall really easily into routines. I don't know if you can call them addictions, but okay. I repeat things a lot.
Okay. No, I just get in that sense, that kind of like that find a thing and love it until it dies and then move on to the next thing and then love it till it dies.
No, but I will also always come back to those things. I don't, I overheard it so much like that. Like for example, when I was a teenager, it was, I was into the Doors a lot, which kind of made it impossible for me to listen to the Doors for the past 20 years. And now I'm back, like when they're on now, like I know all the lyrics and I'm back in it. Like I start to like it again, but I'm not obsessive about it no more. The love doesn't stop somehow. It's just like once the fire is there, like it's just I've seen it too much at some point.
It's an old love.
Yeah, exactly.
How did the Hudson Mohawk album cover come around? Because I've got to ask that, because number one, he's from Scotland, and number two, I'm a big fan, and I thought that was I thought it really reflected his music, and it was actually, I don't know if the work existed, and I think it did exist before it became on the album, and I thought that was such a nice to be able to go, oh, that fits this.
Yeah, no, it was a great surprise for me. Like, I got a mail one day just by his whichever guy who's taking care of these things, some guy from the label.
His label.
And then we were writing a bit, and I also wrote with him, and we kind of chose together. Like they really liked the one that became the cover, and then I also sent them a couple of other things. And in the end, the whole record is I'm so pleased with it. It's like the nicest way my work has ever been used in a way, because it's everywhere. They put very few design on it. Like they just really let it speak for itself, gave me like good credit. And it was a very, very nice collaboration. And also like how the music works with the painting. Like for me, that was great. I never seen this kind of connection. And it was actually for me, those ones, the paintings we chose for it as well, there were kind of odd ones out, like ones that went from one of my longer streams of things to the next. And in between, there were like these kind of bridging moments, which are then also especially cut loose of like it comes from here and went to there. They're also a world of their own, of course, but I didn't grant that to them. And then this music kind of did it. And it became like this, just like, yeah, like kind of amusement parkish horror show, and and like, but that also then when I saw that kind of, then I made another series of paintings kind of based on this feeling, which was what I showed with the Galerie Droste in Korea last September in Seoul, and that was really fun to make like those works for that occasion, and also like fed from this thing. And I was listening to the music while doing those works and all. That was a nice project. Especially I made like I think 3 paintings of that style, and that was kind of very nice experience. Really quick painting session, and felt almost like a performance, you know, listening to the same music and like going through the moves. Like at some point I knew the rhythm of the album. It was very nice. And yeah,
I know you've got a show coming up later this year. Are we still in the party series, or have we moved out?
I have a show coming up at Harlan Levey Projects in Brussels called Schwanzwald, and it's set in the forest,
the Black Forest,
and the Black Forest. Yeah, exactly. And it's no, it's not the 1920s party. It's still, you still have the same feel. Like it's a shift. Like basically it's a shift of location and outfit more than of like the basic topic in between. I think also remains what interests me is like in between the humans, and that's no matter where you put them, they're gonna make it do. But it goes more towards like German topics. There's some fairy tale references in it as I grew up with it. Like then the forest for me, the kind of most German thing around. Yeah, then you have again battle scenes in here as well. And like it's battle scenes like in between, like the one behind me right now that you see, I think is like rather big, like 5 by 3 meter. And it's an interpretation of the Battle of the Teutoburger Wald. So there's like a big battle which kind of founded Germany back in the day. And I'm exchanging it, of course, like it's more of a struggle to get to terms with your sensitive side, and it's in between being a bit too rough and being over careful, trying to please people. I'm trying to bring like a lot of things that it's the first time that I'm looking at Germany and I see it from the outside. I always felt so much like a part of it, and over the past 2 years or something, I started to feel more alien to it. And like now I'm trying to get to terms to it with these paintings that I'm making, which I wonder how much people will take that. I think the stories that are true about the paintings are in the end the ones that the people will tell. But my line that swings me through it is this kind of dealing with my past. Getting to terms with myself at this point.
It feels like there could almost be a sense of self-exploration from within there rather than necessarily just Germany, you know, particularly the idea of masculinity. You know, you can't say war or battle without it being, you know, automatically associated with the idea of men and war. And is this a personal battle of you trying to understand this sense of masculinity and what that might mean to you?
I think you could, like, also this battle behind me is Armenius, and Armenius stands for Hermann, which is my father's name. And like at therapy, I'm talking a lot about my family as well. Like, no, like there's a lot of things that I'm trying to get to terms with. So like I use my work. I realized that I really use my work for my own mental balance when I had a pretty difficult breakup a year and a half ago, and I started to do boxing again. I drank a lot and I disappeared in the work. But in the work, I really realized that I use it as a vessel. Like I can completely disappear. And in the paintings, I saw things that I didn't admit to myself before. So that was kind of an eye opener for me that it does do something. Like it's yes, it's my job, and like yes, I make decisions of it, and I want to say all sorts of things. But like if I mindlessly just work and I really work while like I'm kind of melting into the process of doing it, it's gonna help me. I'm gonna let things out that I don't even know I do. So like in that, for sure, there's always a mental battle or like a kind of cleansing realization. Like later when I look at it, I can see a lot of things that I've been busy with, and that they are there without me placing them. Like that's a great help to me.
In an age where artists are so finessed about their practice and how they create work, it's actually it kind of harks back to almost like an old romantic sense of the kind of the tortured artist a little bit in there, because we speak to so many artists that are kind of like borderline designers, you know, and it's like, okay, I took the photo, I painted it onto the canvas, and this is really for you a mental exercise.
If I was to, like, I don't know, paint a photograph, I don't get the point. Why do I paint it? Like, apart from I run a business, and like I don't find that a very interesting reason for that. Of course, like my stuff is also in a sense a business, but like I feel the work only works as long as the work is kind of dangerous. Like if it has like actual real life in it, and that's also the way that it keeps running. That's the way why it demands more, because it's like it's a moving beast or something, and I'm tackling it. And of course, there's a lot of ups and downs in that, right? Like that's just like in life. Like you're gonna start to enjoy it when you feel pain, because then like you need the negative for the positive, right? Like there's in the flatness, you just start to numb down, and then that becomes a nothingness and becomes like a hollow shells.
This is a roller coaster today. I fucking loved it though. This is just, I didn't 100% know what I was going to get into, and then we started off and I was like, okay, cool, we're on a little, and then bang, we went into fifth gear immediately and just went through that. That was great.
Yeah, I don't know. I was wondering how to do a podcast. I find it difficult, and I didn't know because it's not an interview or something, right? Like it's like I'm sitting here like naked in a way. I have the feeling I'm sitting here naked.
You can wear as many clothes as you want, and people wear a lot of clothes, and some people decide to come into podcasts with extra armor on, and it's like, if that's what you got to do, then that's what you got to do. But it's nice if people can, especially on a format like this, where it's like we met for about 4 minutes doing a sound check, and then we've gone in and we're talking about some of the most honest, you know, vulnerable kind of sense of exploration. I think that there's something kind of nice sometimes doing that with a stranger. It's maybe easier to do it with a stranger than with, you know, it's like you know that conversation you have in the smoking area at a bar or a club, and it's like, you know, 3 a.m. and you're having a chat, and you have met someone and you'll be telling them your entire life story, and it's just
using them as a warm mirror.
Kind of, yeah. This is such a random question to finish on, but what interests you about the Starling migration in England?
Starling migration in England. You're talking about like these beautiful natures, like birds and bird clouds, and like, I mean, what doesn't interest me about it? It's just, it's like outrageously beautiful. Like
I read in one of your interviews, you said if you could go and do anything, you would go to Oxford and go to the wetlands in Oxford to look at the Starling migration. And I wondered what was it about that?
It's a kind of strange, because it seems like it's not such a hard dream to realize, right? But I haven't done it yet.
You're literally an hour away.
Yeah, exactly. No, but like I said, I find that really crazy beautiful, very, very beautiful. I love the coordination. I like the shapes it takes. I'm kind of disgusted by the mass of it all. And then, just birds. Anyway, birds up in the air. It's beautiful.
It's almost like the exact opposite of your paintings. You know, if you look at, you've got mass quantity of people, and they have joy, they have friction, they have beauty, they have horror. But with the Starlings, it's actually just completely uniform, and they are so completely in sync that they can maneuver in those really dexterous ways with complete formation. Not like us.
Yeah. Even though they take like also, if I look at my paintings, especially if it's black and white ones, I will squint my eyes to see the Starling shape, so to say, the bigger shape that they build. So like in that, there is a bit of something, but like if we really want to over-interpret
let's overanalyze it.
Yeah, let's do it, exactly.
Let's do it. I love that. So look, you've got your show coming up in Brussels. When will we be able to...
The opening is on April 15th at Harlan Levey Projects in Brussels. It's going to be big show. It's in both spaces of the gallery and a booth at Art Brussels.
But I mean, your work is huge, so it has to be a big show by default.
Yeah, no, but also like these sizes I produce now because I know it's possible there. Like I always check what's possible, and then like I need to push it in a way. And like if I can, I will try to make something bigger. Like I don't want it to be a dream. I want to do it and then later deal with the consequences of handling this massive thing. But yeah, come to Brussels, check out the show in April. And then later that year also at Droste in Paris. But you'll see, put it all online and all these things.
There you go. Willehad, Eilers, aka Wayne Horse, in the radio juxtaposed hot seat for the very first time. You really do get the sense that as an artist that really puts his heart and soul into the work that he's creating. I hope you enjoyed being on this journey with us together. That's it from me, Doug Gillen. For now, we will be back with you guys, as always, real soon. Until that moment comes, please take care of yourselves and each other.